So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 4th annual Cambrian Bunny Award nomination ceremony. I, of course, am Dapper Dinosaur, your host. I have with me Jordan from Reason to Doubt and Dan of Creation Myths. Possibly joining us later, although there's no guarantee, is Grayson Hawk. All three of those channels should be linked in the description, so please, if you are not subscribed to any of them, go check them all out, because I can attest that they all do good work, they make good videos, and they're all part of the Science Friends. They're part of the public-facing portion of the Science Friends, because I'm not going to say who, but there are also non-public-facing members of the Science Friends who help keep us on track when it comes to the arguments in their various fields of expertise.
Our secret weapons.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's not, you're not wrong. It's really true.
Legion.
Yeah. Yeah, the Science Friends is a bigger group than you know about. So guys, what are we doing here? And the answer, of course, is Cambrian Buddy nominations. And so I started this 4 years ago now, where I was just like, you know what? I should just have an award show for young Earth creationism, right? And so I picked 4 categories that I thought would be fun: worst argument, worst use of the English language, worst behaved, but then also, to end on a positive note, we have a vote for best overall creationist, grading on the curve of just dealing with creationists, right? So, like, you know, you don't have to point out, like, yeah, but this actual scientist is way better than this guy, so why would you vote for this guy? It's like, because it's only among creationists, so we give them the curve. And yeah, I basically have on people who are variously friends of the channel who do, you know, young Earth creationist debunk stuff, and we just nominate people. And then traditionally, what we've done before is I've done secret, otherwise blank videos that you can vote on by liking. But today, we're just going to do polls on the YouTube community tab, because it's easier and it'll get more interaction. So that's what we're doing. I have downloaded pictures of all the nominees, so it'll be an image poll, so you can see who you're voting for before you vote for them. Or as you're voting for them. I don't know. Time is weird. Tenses are stupid. Learn Klingon, because Klingon doesn't have tenses. And also, the feds don't speak Klingon. Presumably. Presumably. Look, I am very aware of, like, who the high-level Klingon speakers are, and I would be very surprised if any of those people are feds.
I mean, you've got to be in the top 5.
No, I'm not in the top
10?
5. I'm probably in the top 50.
Okay, all right.
Of how many? Like,
of people who, like, have studied
19.
Klingon.
19.
I mean, total is probably at least about 1,000 or so people.
that's still like Wind Talker levels, you know?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm one of the few people who studies Klingon who actively uses the language, so, like, that already puts me in a pretty high level. But there are definitely plenty of people who are way better than I am. But hey, we're not here to talk about how good I am at Klingon, because the answer is, compared to how good I am at English, really, really bad. But compared to how good most people are, I'm excellent. We are mostly here to talk about the young Earth creationists. And so my panel is Jordan and Dr. Dan, as you can see. But also Grayson has given me his nominees, because his original plan was to be here, but he accidentally double booked today. And I got the bump. So I will be arguing for his after Jordan and Dan give theirs.
And do you make nominations as well?
I generally only make new nominations when I feel like there aren't enough non-Dapper nominations. And the reason for that is because I don't want to make it feel like there's a Dapper preferred option. That seems a little weird to me. So if we have 3 or more nominations in a group, then I don't. And now, got a few things. So, Pibblepunk, half dog, half canine, member for 19 months, who's at the tetrapod level, says, finally, an awards show worth watching with a Godzilla emoji. Thank you, I do hope it is worth it. Roshna Japonic means Germanic Keller for 199 says, the NSA speaks Klingon. Wait, do they? How do you know? Do they have, like, a Klingon guy that they, like, call up sometimes? Who is it? Give me a name. I'll talk to him.
Ed.
Yeah.
Could be your guy on the inside.
For all I know, maybe it's me. One day the NSA just knocks on my door. They're like, excuse me, sir. Can you translate this from Klingon into English? Which the answer will be yes. But will
Absolutely.
I?
Turns out you're just really bad at translating, guys.
Man. This is just a cake recipe. It's yeah, I don't know. It's weird that he would send it in Klingon. But there is a Klingon word for chocolate. It's yuch. So I mean, there you go. I don't know why it's yuch, but it is. Actually, they probably know that because it's on like the first page of the Klingon dictionary. There's a list of set phrases, and one of them is, "Where do you keep the chocolate?"
Do Klingons like chocolate?
They do. They generally like very dark chocolate that doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. But yeah, they do like chocolate.
Which they're objectively correct.
Yeah.
So
Right.
good
Yeah,
on them.
look, in fact, Klingon coffee, the Raktajino, is usually thought to be a Klingon take on Federation exports of coffee and possibly chocolate that they then mix up to be palatable to them, and then have since exported back to the Federation. So, okay, we are not doing drinking rules per se. However, I do have a martini here. This is my 4th martini in 7.5 hours, which I feel like is a pretty okay ratio. I've been drinking other things like water in between, but yeah, I've
Important.
yeah. Also had some tea with milk in between, which was actually gifted by Roshina. So thank you very much for that. I had it with rice and spam and vegetables. That was my second meal of the day. I was going to say that was my lunch, but it was at like 4 o'clock, so whatever. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 says, "A warrior's treat." Yes, that is in fact accurate. All right, so let's just start with Jordan's nominee for worst argument. So, Jordan, who is your pick?
My pick for worst argument would be Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. You may not be aware of this, but Mike Johnson is in fact a young Earth creationist who has an author page on the AIG website.
He
and
does.
That qualifies him for this award show. And therefore, everything he makes is an argument made by young Earth creationist. And so, Mike
Here we go.
Johnson's the argument that I'm nominating specifically is his argument for removing the separation of church and state as saying it's not in the Constitution, along with his overall Christian nationalist nonsense.
Right, obviously. All right, so now you guys know that's the first one. When we are complete with all the nominees, I will set up a image poll over on my channel, and you will be able to vote there. I will try to put the link for that in the chat, although I'm not sure how well that's going to work. But you can also just go to my community tab, because, that's literally what it's for. So, all right. Well, in that case, Dan, who is your nominee for worst argument? Now, remember, you have to have a person and what their argument is. So.
Yes. Now, just to be clear, though, I'm pretty sure I'm not a constitutional scholar, but I'm very confident that the separation of church and state is actually in the First Amendment to the Constitution.
The phrase isn't, but yes, it is.
Yeah, the
Right,
phrase.
like,
the phrase itself is not. The phrase itself comes from a letter by, was it Jefferson?
Jefferson, the wall.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
And he talked about he talked about how the Constitution builds a wall of separation. Right. So one of the people who was there in the room believes it was in the Constitution. So clearly that's what they intended. But the way in which it makes a barrier is by saying that Congress shall make they won't establish a religion. And
his argument is similar to saying, well, the Constitution doesn't say that, trying to overturn a democratic election is sedition for the purposes of not being allowed to hold federal office anymore. It doesn't say that. So who knows what anything means?
That's going to be a tough one to beat, but I'm going to try.
Okay, here we go.
My nominee for worst argument comes from frenemy Sal Cordova, and the argument is protein orchards preclude common ancestry,
which is just wild.
This is banana pants. And Sal, if you ever happen to see this, nothing I'm about to say is something I have not said to your face. So just to be clear, I'm not going off on Sal here behind his back. I've said this to Sal. So here's the argument. The argument is that everybody agrees, creationists, evolutionary biologists, everybody agrees that there are gene families or protein families where you've got an original gene and then duplications and whatnot, and so they're homologous, they share common ancestry, but you have many of those and they are independent of each other where they don't go back to a common ancestral gene, right? So you have lots of independent genes, and that's just like a fact about the world. Like, that is true. Now, the argument is that that fact about the world is a problem for evolution. And my friends, let me assure you, it is not. And not only is it not a problem for evolution, and this is why I'm nominating it for worst argument. Not only is this not a problem for evolution in the way that like irreducible complexity is not a problem for evolution, it's worse than that. Because not only is it not a problem, it is also the fact that different proteins have independent origins. That is a necessity for evolution. If that was not the case, then evolution would have a problem, right? So this argument is upside down and backwards. De novo proteins are a thing. We have directly documented the evolution of de novo genes and de novo proteins. The reason that evolutionary biologists will say there is no single protein common ancestor is because new genes evolve. That is a thing that happens.
Which is a thing that Sal generally says doesn't happen, which is the other weird part to this whole thing.
Right. The other side of the coin of this argument is also weird, but I want to focus on the, Sal taking this very, like, unexciting fact about evolution and making it a thing.
Right.
And it's just, that is just, I don't know why he keeps doing it, because everybody who hears it just kind of chuckles and goes about their business, because it's just not a serious
It's kind of like if I thought that a great slam dunk case against Christianity was that Jerusalem exists. It's like, why would that be a problem? Isn't that kind of a requirement for Christianity? Like,
So I feel like if you were like designing, like imagine you had points to spend on a hypothetical argument, right? He's put all his points on argument, like premises are true, but then completely dumped on the argument says
follows.
Follows.
Therefore evolution is false. It's like, no, we'll just don't worry about that.
Don't.
He's min-maxing his argument, but it didn't work.
Roshan, a Japonic means Germanic Keller for $1.99 says protein orchards and tulip flower. Yeah, you guys weren't there for the tulip flower, were you? In my so I had an earlier stream today, Dapper Reacts, and I pointed out that here's what everyone in the United States knows about the Netherlands: dikes, tulips, windmills. The dikes were obviously built to give more space for tulip farms. And the tulip farms obviously grow tulips so they can be ground into tulip flower in the windmills. And that is how the Netherlands works.
Yeah, I mean, that corresponds with everything I know about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, there were Dutch people in the chat who were like, what about the bikes? I'm like, no, we don't learn about the bikes in America.
I do know.
That's what I went to. I went to the bikes.
I have a friend who's Dutch, and so I also know about wooden shoes.
Yeah, clogs. Clogs were also pointed out in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why there's a tulip flower in there. All right, so
that's my nominee. Sal, protein orchards. It's bad. It's really bad.
So Grayson's nominee is actually Jason Lyle for lying about his failed James Webb Space Telescope predictions, right? Because he very clearly made statements that what we would see in James Webb Space Telescopes were mature galaxies similar to the ones that we see in like our local neighborhood of galaxies, because he believes that the galaxies were created in the way that we see them nearby, which means that no matter what you want to do with distant light time travel, those galaxies were never in a state of formation. They were not like significantly smaller on average. There was no situation, like there was no time before the spirals were set up or anything like this. And while it is true that what James Webb Space Telescope had shown us did not in all cases match previous models for galaxy formations, they also did not in any way back up Lyle.
Right. So like, kudos for making a prediction.
Right.
Like, hey, he boldly put out a prediction. Like, so good on that. Unfortunately, you don't get points if your prediction doesn't then come true. And I mean, like,
you get points. Wrong, you get points for attempting science.
Yeah.
But if it's wrong, you don't get points for your idea. And if you then deny that your prediction was wrong, you also get those points, previous points, deducted because now you're just being a dishonest dick.
Right. And like, it is true, like you said, and I think there's sometimes a misconception among creationists that like, oh, science is wrong, therefore it's nonsense. It's like, no, our models were slightly off, right? So we can just tune those models. But there's a difference between, oh man, we thought that they were, just to give an arbitrary number, we thought that the level formation would be a 1. Turns out to 1.5. Okay, we'll need to adjust that. Whereas you said it was going to be 1,000. Well, one of us is closer to right.
And also, one of us is opting to actually make corrections and updates and make new predictions based on new data and taking new data on board. And the other one is just like, nope, I was right all along, even though you very obviously weren't.
Right.
So that's why Jason Lyle has gotten the nominee there. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $4.99 says, the presence of materials that explode on contact with on the lunar module precludes a historical moon landing. Hey, if you say so. I don't entirely follow, but hey, you know what? That's not the craziest thing I've heard today. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an image poll. So the image is going to say, let's see, which creationist gave the worst argument in 2024? No, you know what? In Anno Domini 2024, and I spelled them out. Yeah, it's Anno Domini.
Of course you did.
Why would I not?
Exactly. Let's say that all the time.
Yeah, Anno Domini. It's a, I could add in Jesu Christi, but I don't want to. I'm too lazy. So yeah. So I will take my notes here, and they will be put in as like the sort of the summary to what your options are, in case you forget. They don't actually give me a whole lot of room to type in things. So the first one I will put up here is going to be, this is just the order I have them written down in. So we're going to go, we're going to add in Lyle. So you are first, my friend, if YouTube catches up. Why are you being slow? There it is. Option 1, Lyle. Option 2, going to be Mike Johnson.
It's going to be hard to beat Mike Johnson for this one. Man,
That
that
was
was
a pretty bad argument.
Jordan, I got to say, going to Mike Johnson, that was impressive.
I told you in the chat you weren't going to guess it.
I'm going through CMI and AIG and Evolution News, and I'm like, did I miss anything this year? What's going on?
I saw that box, and I said, you know what? Let's go out of it. Let's go outside.
There you go.
All right.
And having the AIG author page, clutch. That makes him eligible for the awards. Yep.
For sure.
Professional
so
creationist.
if
and then finally, Sal Cordova. All right, go ahead.
Someone wants to vote in this poll, where should they go?
So the easiest way is to just go to my community tab on my channel page, but I will be linking the poll in the chat, and I will also probably eventually be adding it to the description. All right, so our options are Jason Lyle, open parenthesis, National Socialist, close parenthesis, Mike Johnson, and Sal Cordova.
There you go.
So there we go. Those are our options. So yeah, head over to the community tab and vote. There are no rules about how many times you can vote with various sock puppet accounts. I'll tell you what. If you want to super chat who the winner is, the person who super chats the most who the winner is has declared the winner, because there are no rules. I do not care about this, and I can be easily bribed.
No, the rules are, if you have money, you have different rules.
Look,
those are the rules.
We live in America. That's how America works.
Those are the rules.
You know, I was concerned looking at this poll that people might not know who Mike Johnson is, but I appreciate that you put a declarative statement in front of it saying National Socialist Mike Johnson. That way, it just completely it's good.
Now we know.
Yeah, now we know. All right, yeah, because he's not prominent among young Earth creationist authors as a young Earth creationist author. So especially the non-Americans in the audience might be a little confused.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So the next category is worst use of the English language. Now, I would in principle be open to people saying, well, okay, this guy utterly butchered insert language here, but as it just stands, the the Science Friends are an Anglophone community. Among us are people with varying degrees of, ability with other languages, but because all of us are fluent and I believe first L1 English speakers, we are going with English in this case.
Maybe.
I can't think of anyone who I would suspect is like ESL, English as second language. Like, I don't think anyone out of us are.
Pretty confident everyone's English primary.
Yeah. Okay. So, which means, hey, in the future, if you have like a really great example of like, oh, hey, this time that Ken Ham just absolutely butchered Spanish, I mean, let me know. I'll take it under consideration.
Yeah.
Let's get it in there.
And
Let's do it.
Also, as a clarification, at least for me, and I think for most people who put forth nominees, if someone is themselves like a creationist for whom English is a second language, then they get kind of a pass. Like we
right on this category.
Right. Yeah.
right.
Like, for instance,
expect you.
Last year, Gabriella Haynes was in consideration, but we ultimately decided not to nominate her because her first language is Brazilian Portuguese, and it's really Andrew Snelling's responsibility as the editor for the publication that she was writing in to fix all that, and he didn't.
The blog.
The blog. Yeah, the blog she was writing in.
The blog.
So yeah, I'm not going to say like, oh, Gabriella Haynes, like, sure, she was missing a bunch of commas and her grammar was weird, but like, whatever. Like, she's struggling to get through technical jargon in a language that isn't her first language. I would struggle to get through the non-technical jargon in, Portuguese. So like, she gets a pass. She doesn't get a pass for the horrible dog shit arguments and her basic misunderstanding of what a phylogeny is. I will rip her apart for that, but not the bad English.
With English, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Naramda puts for $2 says, can we super chat someone not nominated? So here's what I will say.
Write-ins.
If I have not finished the poll and you want to super chat $20 or more US, I will add that person for that category. But once the poll has been written, that's it. You can only super chat to buy the award. And that will work for about a month, basically. So like, if today you super chat and you're like, I vote Lyle, or like, we'll start at a floor. Like, it'll have to start at least like $20. I'm not gonna be bought for less than $20. But
right.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's not a high price,
right,
but it has a price.
Right. Yeah, so $20 and you can buy the nomination.
Now we're just haggling over the price, madam, as the saying goes.
Exactly. Right? So and if no one super chats, which is absolutely fine, we'll just go with whoever gets the most votes. Okay, Roshan and Japonic means Germanic Keller from 1999. We're skipping ahead a little bit. Says Raw Mat has to win something for pre-Yiddish. Raw Mat is on here, so if you want him,
I didn't nominate him for anything. Darn.
Trust me, Raw Mat is on here, so don't worry.
Thank God.
He has a fair chance of winning.
Good.
Let's see. Roshan and Japonic.
And you know what? I just want to say before you go to the next super chat, can we just say with Raw Mat, if anybody might take us up on the offer, you know what? Honestly, Raw Mat might be like, yeah, screw it, send me a trophy. He might take us up on it. I could totally see him doing that.
Look, I can 3D print a trophy if Raw Mat wants one. He would have to give me his address, and he would probably have to pay for like international shipping. Doesn't he live in Canada?
No, that's Donnie.
Oh, okay. I thought they both.
Raw Mat's in the U.S. somewhere.
Is Donnie Canadian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He lives in Windsor.
That's public. Don't worry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very public. He also has been on Windsor local TV advertising for his used car dealership. That's where the Donnie Deals nickname comes from.
Those videos are lost to history, and it's such a shame.
I know.
It's I learned bad. He was a used car salesman. It's like that completely tracks.
Yeah.
Look, that's just the writer's room being lazy, okay? That's just way too on the nose.
All right. Roshan, Japonic means Romantic Keller for $1.99 says America, yeah. And then Wayne Rossi for $2 says, sounds like a category a linguist would make. Yeah, it is. Look, I'm not a linguist, but I am a linguistics enthusiast. So, all right. So, we'll start with Dr. Dan because Jordan went first last time. So, Dan, who is your nominee for worst use of the English language?
My nominee for worst use of the English language for the year of our Lord 2024 is not one person, it's Discovery Institute as an organization, because it was multiple authors over the course of approximately the summer following my debate with Dr. Casey Luskin on junk DNA, where during the debate, right at the end, he admitted that we have yet to document function for more than half the human genome, but he expects that we will get there at some indeterminate point in the future. And I pointed this out, was like, that's new. Thank you for admitting that. That is awesome. I appreciate this. And then Discovery Institute wrote like 4 blog posts and at least 1 video where they were like, I don't know what Dr. Dan is talking about. We've been saying this forever.
Which, no,
we haven't changed our position at all. And then I went back through 15 years worth of writing on that, and it's all the end of junk DNA. The whole genome is, it's just this hyperbolic language going back even before the famous 2012 ENCODE paper. And in 2024, they just tried to retcon the whole thing like they hadn't said any of it. And their position the whole time was, sure, we don't know what it does yet, but we think we will eventually figure it out.
Yeah, someday.
And and to the point where I was just like, here's a bunch of quotes that they said in the past, and here's what they said 2 weeks ago. And they're saying those are all the same thing. And it's just like this 1984 nonsense that they spent literally a month arguing about. And I just like, dude, we have internet browsers and we can go back and look at what you wrote in 2005 and 2010 and 2012 and 2023 and 1 week before our debate, where they produced a list of, no joke, 800 papers where our friend RJ Downer is actually working his way through them, and most of them don't actually say what they said, but that's besides the point. But it was like on a dime, they changed their position and just made it out like they had been saying the same thing all along. And that's my nomination for worst use of the English language for 2024.
So let me just scroll up a little bit. Vagrant Vagabond of Variant Vista says, Dapper, why does your browser keep dying? So here's the thing. It is only YouTube, and it is almost exclusively the YouTube Studio that keeps dying. And the answer is, I don't know, but I also happen to know that I'm not the only YouTuber having this problem, where the browser tabs associated with the YouTube Studio especially just kind of die sometimes. I know Craig from FTFE has been having this problem, and I think Toon has been too, and those are the only two I remember having said anything about it. So the answer is, I don't know, but it seems like it's on the YouTube's end, because I am not the only one it keeps happening to. So I wish I had a better explanation for you. I don't. It says that it's closing for lack because it ran out of memory, but like I have been keeping track of my memory when things like that are happening, and it's not an especially like memory heavy period or anything, so I don't honestly know. I suspect YouTube is just once again being kind of a dick, because they do that a lot. All right, so I think that was a pretty good argument as to why basically just trying to gaslight their entire audience is the worst use of the English language. Usually it's for like grammatical errors, but I also think that like just using it to just psychologically abuse your entire audience is another good option.
Yeah, like that is a bad use. They use the English language for bad purposes.
Yeah, you should not do that. Don't do that with the English language, or any other language for that matter.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just that their audience is primarily Anglophone. So,
yeah.
All right, Jordan, who do you think should get the award for worst use of the English language?
I know. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, worst use of the English language. My nominee is Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
He's doing it again.
Yep.
I decided this is my thing now. So, the use it specifically is using the word socialist to describe Democrats in general and Harris in particular, because I would be overjoyed if Democrats were socialists. It would be amazing, right? I, as a self-avowed socialist, would think that was incredible. It is not. They are still very much capitalists. They're still about structuring capital and that traditional form of power. They are not socialists. They are perhaps more closely aligned with socialist ideals than the fascists, right? Sure.
Right. Yeah.
But Harris, who is a bog standard status quo kind of politician,
down the middle,
right down the middle, is not a socialist, and calling her otherwise is just a lie. It's just a lie. It's just a word they use to paint people they don't like, which is what they accuse us of doing when we say fascist, except they are actually fascists. So
yeah. I mean, if they weren't, they probably wouldn't have allowed multiple Nazi salutes at the coronation of the second king of the Kingdom of Central North America.
Correct.
So,
yeah, it really is just social. It's like, oh, boogeyman.
Yeah,
be afraid.
Oh,
And, like,
coming for you.
the socialists are coming to
man.
take your toothbrushes.
It would be so bad if people were able to eat and had access to healthcare and like roads and stuff. Like, man, can you imagine how horrible that would be?
What can you imagine the suffering that would ensue if we were to take collective problems and try to solve them collectively instead of saying you're on your own to everybody? Oh, yeah.
Which is something we do.
All right, I promise we weren't going to get too political.
Sorry.
So well, look, if you want to see me get super political,
the Speaker of the House for
okay, fair. But if you want to see me be much more political than I'm going to be today, or not today, but in this hour, go watch the debate pub that I just did on Chesh's channel.
What was the topic, Dapper?
Well, I'll just say this: I did quote a very famous thing from Thomas Jefferson having to do with the Tree of Liberty and how thirsty it occasionally gets. Because, it's a thirsty, thirsty tree.
You got it. Photosynthesis requires stripping the electrons from water.
Which can be found in many other liquids that we...
And any aqueous solution will do, as long as it doesn't,
not too hypertonic.
Dehydrate the tissues. So, yeah,
Yep. All right. So, Grayson, who is not here... His pick for this was Joel Tay of the Institute for Creation Research, who is one of their vloggers, I should say. I'm sorry. Who, by the way, I think has the best name in all of ICR's roster of people. I think Joel Tay is a really cool name, and that he should go into like some kind of like actual growth part of like the entertainment industry. Like maybe he should be like a DJ. Or like be like a promoter for band, like do something in like music or something, because you got a perfect name.
Being a mouthpiece for fascists is a growth industry right now.
But it's not entertaining.
That's true.
That's why entertainment industry. Look, I'm saying Joel Tay, you could do a lot more. That isn't this. Roshino Japonic means Germanic Keller for 199 says empathy is a sin. Young Earth creationist. Yeah, I did see that tweet. Yep. Hey, fun fact, there is nowhere in the Bible that indicates that empathy is a sin. And in fact, a very large portion of the Bible is about exactly the opposite of that. There's this thing called the prophetic critique, right? Which is what you find in basically all the minor prophets, which is a big chunk of the Old Testament, right? And the prophetic critique can be kind of summed up like this. Hey, Israelites, you keep doing things like bringing 1/10 of your flocks to be sacrificed and praying at the temple with your arms raised and your voice booming out, while at the same time, people who are widows or orphaned, or just people who arrive at your borders otherwise destitute, are being completely ignored. You should put more emphasis on helping the foreigner and the widow and the orphan, which, by the way, are categories explicitly spelled out in the Bible as the kind of people you're supposed to protect.
You're supposed to help. And
you should worry a little bit less about exactly how many exactly how many heads of oxen or something you're going to go sacrifice tomorrow. Maybe one of those takes priority, and it's not the one you're doing.
There was a little-known, barely, no one's heard of him, Jewish rabbi in the 1st century who said, truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. I don't remember what his name was. You can probably look it up, but might be of interest to someone who claims to follow his religion.
Jeebus or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, something about caring for poor and refugees and sick and all that.
Yeah, in fact, one of the strongest through lines from the Old Testament to the New Testament is the continuation of the prophetic critique.
We'll see when we get there, but Dapper knows one of my nominees. We're going to get there. This issue will return.
So why does Joel Tay deserve worse use of the English language? Well, basically, it's because he made up an entirely new definition for the word bird that does not correspond to any definition that anyone has ever used historically, either in science or just in colloquial speech. which is
Okay.
fun. Basically, he just came up with a list of things that he thinks birds have or don't have, which on the one hand is just a lie. Like many of the things he says birds don't have, they just do. And many of the things he says that, birds must have, some don't even today. So that's weird and fun. And basically he was picking up sort of where Gabriella Haynes left off in giving us actual like terms and whatnot. Now, I did not actually cover this video of his because I covered the same arguments from multiple people more extensively than I was going to be able to in a video there. However, Forrest Valkai on his Reacteria show did cover this video. So if you want to see the exact talk that we're talking about, go check out the recent Reacterias on Forrest Valkai's channel. If you're here, you almost certainly know who Forrest is because he's way bigger than I am. So I'm not going to bother linking or anything. You know who he is.
You can find him.
Yeah. So, he is very much picking up where Gabriella Haynes left off and saying things like birds don't have a perforate acetabulum, which they absolutely do. Or saying things like birds don't use the caudofemoralis longus as a femoral retractor, which they absolutely do.
I don't know what most of those words mean, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, basically, he's saying, hey, birds don't do this thing that dinosaurs do, except that, yes, they do. They very much do. So, yeah.
Can I just related to this brief aside? I recall very specifically, this memory is etched in my brain for some reason. When I was in second grade and we were, very basic learning about the world, the standard for birds, the thing we were taught for birds, what makes a bird, there's one thing that birds have and nobody else has. That's, to be fair, that's alive, I think was kind of the unstated thing. Although this was in the early 90s. I'm old, so like maybe we didn't know. I don't know where we were with dinosaurs with feathers by then, but it was feathers. Feathers equals birds. And like for living things, I think that's correct.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that was, for second graders, for if it's alive today and it has feathers, it's a bird. That's fine. And this guy for ICR was a million other things that were wrong, like worse than that. And was this like in the service of like there were no feathered dinosaurs?
Yes.
Like what was the why would he pick this stupid fight?
So that's one of the things that I never have understood is why exactly creationists want to die on the hill of birds not being dinosaurs. Because it's the same thing I always go to, bats and whales, right? The exact same arguments that they use to say that birds aren't dinosaurs work for saying that bats and whales aren't mammals. They're directly parallel. They don't make those arguments. Right? They don't go around saying, well, whales aren't actually mammals because mammals have 4 legs and whales only have 2. And, mammals have hair, but whales don't, which by the way is a lie, but they say lies about birds anyway, so who cares? Like, they don't do that. And that, for some reason, that's okay with them. It should be okay in both cases. But we are going to start setting up the poll. So again, if you have a nominee that you want to argue for, get that super chat in, and I will add a nominee that probably won't have a picture because I don't have one handy, but, still. All right,
and if I know the nominee, I will say this for anyone who does that. If I know the nominee and the argument or whatever that you're talking about, I'll make the case for him.
There you go.
I'll try.
All right, so which creationist had the worst use of the English language in Anno Domini 2024? Was it, as I'm adding an option, let's see, was it Joel Tay? Which, by the way, he's like super happy in the picture I found of him, and it's the only picture I could find of him. And I don't know what it is that's making him that happy, but you know what? Good for you, buddy.
Being nominated for Cambrian Bunny, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Wouldn't be thrilled. If his personal logo isn't like all F1 drivers have like a logo for some, I don't know why, but that's just how it is. If Joel Tay's personal logo isn't something with a lightning bolt, then that is a missed opportunity.
All right, so we have Joel Tay, National Socialist Mike Johnson, can't forget. And then, let's see, the Discovery Institute, I actually downloaded, their, logo, and I'm going to put that in there as the image, because I'm not going to try to find, a group picture of all the weirdos who work for the DI. So, I'm just going to see how that looks. I might need to reposition it. Nope, that looks fine to me. All right, so now there's going to be a new poll. Which creationist had the worst use of the English language in Anno Domini 2024? Joel Tay for making up a new definition of bird, Mike Johnson for calling Democrats and Harris in particular socialist, or the Discovery Institute. I'll just spell that out. I put DI in my notes, but I should spell it out here. Discovery Institute, for saying they didn't change their position on junk DNA. All right.
That is a stacked category right there. That's a tough one. Mike Johnson. Could we get a Johnson sweep?
We could.
Johnson pulling a Jensen, baby.
No, a Jensen's when he loses everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you want the traditional sweep, not the actual sweep.
Or I guess he could pull an anti-Jensen. You know.
All right.
You could pull an anti-Jensen and win.
Yeah.
There we go. I have put the link to that poll in there, so feel free to go ahead and vote for who you think had the worst use of the English language. All right, so I am seeing that we have 6 votes so far on the one that just went live, and 48 votes so far on the previous one. So people are out there voting.
Off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
All right, the next one is worst behaved. Now, granted...
Before we jump in, you got some super chats to catch up.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for the super chats, everybody.
Dapper's a professional.
Yeah.
Dapper is a professional.
Let's see. I'm only seeing one that I haven't read, but it's by My Unfinished Journey for $6.66. Says, do we know that MJ is a young Earth creationist? Yes, we absolutely know that Mike Johnson is a
yes, we do.
creationist. Yeah, he said it. He said as much in interviews. He's got an author page on AIG. The thing he authored,
which requires him to be a yak.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing he authored was also in broad support of young Earth creationism. Sorry.
One particular quote out of many you could pick is he has praised the Ark Encounter specifically as a strategic and creative way to bring people to this recognition of the truth that what we read in the Bible are actual historic events. So he is at best lying about being a yak, which is enough to qualify him anyway.
Good enough. And
then My Unfinished Journey adds on, at most we know he's willing to rub elbows with young Earth creationists. We know more than that. Also, hail Nero, hail
we know
Dad.
a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we know that he and his son are each other's monitors on an app that ensures they don't view internet pornography.
Yeah, which is...
There's a fun fact
weird.
None of you needed to hear, but if I need to know that, so does everybody else.
I know it. I just try not to think about it to the maximum extent possible.
You're welcome. And while we're on the topic of not thinking about things, you all just lost the game. You're welcome.
Damn it. Why are you such an asshole all of a sudden? What did I do to you?
Because one of my friends from high school did that to me earlier, so I just figured I'd pass it on.
Fine. All right. So My Unfinished Journey also ends with also hail Nero, Daps, Dr. Dan, Jordan, and Grayson. Thank you very much. All right. So that is the next poll that is up there. So the next one is worst behaved. Now, I will admit that there is a lot of overlap between this and the other two, because obviously abusing the English language or providing really crap arguments is bad behavior. But this also encompasses all sorts of other things, like, for instance, Kent Hovind beating his wife, or say, I don't know, if this is not a thing that I know about, but like if someone had like embezzled a bunch of funds from like AIG and then just like took off, that would be bad behavior because, you know,
hypothetically.
I actually don't think that happened. If that did happen, let me know, because that would be interesting.
Who knows? Maybe someone has reached out to the science.
I don't know if they.
I don't know
if they embezzle from AIG and then use that money to promote something good. I'd argue that might actually be a good thing.
That would make them a nominee for best behavior.
It would be illegal.
Overall.
I feel
that
like
would make best overall.
All right. In an effort not to get into like ethical philosophy,
don't do crimes.
Yeah, we're all saying don't do crimes, including the very cool crime of theft from AIG. Don't do that. There are a lot of
very awesome things.
There were a lot of really cool crimes out there that you shouldn't do. And then Rana Unwelcome Nuance Case says Sandra Stan. Yeah, Sandra does seem to have embezzled a whole bunch of money from Dinosaur Adventureland. And I'm just going to say
number 4 that just left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she took money. That's good.
Yeah, it seems like so.
Way to go, Sam.
My understanding, and this is something I've gotten from video clips that were recorded from online conversations of like DAL employees / residents / whatever. The donate button on the website went to Sandra's personal PayPal.
Amazing.
And awesome. So when she left,
I'm sorry, that is awesome.
She didn't have to do anything. She just didn't pay out the donations from her own personal PayPal account.
not embezzling. They gave her that money.
No, that's good business. Can I change my nominee from best overall to Sandra?
Sure, if you give me a big enough super chat.
No, actually, no. I like my best overall, and I don't want to change it. But I'm just
Okay.
saying, if that's true, that's awesome.
Well, I have seen
That's
things that,
hilarious.
as far as I'm concerned, verified that the donate link at least used to go to her personal PayPal.
Fantastic.
It went to something that says like sandrahovend@gmail.com was like the email associated with that PayPal account.
That's not illegal. That's just,
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to say if it's illegal or not.
fair enough. Me neither. But
Left-handed
Seriously.
Jedi, who's been a member for 14 months, is at the touchpad level, says, Kapla, may your scales never lose their luster. Thank you. I do want to say, in the future, if you want to say Kapla, you want to put an apostrophe and not an H at the end of that word. So there you go. But keep the Q capitalized, no matter where it occurs in the sentence. The Q needs to be capitalized. That's a rule. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 says, Kent getting out grifted. It's
as is good and just.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things. I don't normally quote this source much, but today I will quote the Book of Common Prayer of the Church of England, which says, "It is meet and right so to do." As part of their liturgical texts.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Look, there's some nice language there in the Book of Common Prayer of the Church of England.
While we're here, can we all just take a moment of silence to commemorate the loss of Kent Hovind's third YouTube channel for, as far as I've understand it, ban evasion this time. After his first one got nuked for medical quackery, and then his second one got nuked for ban evasion, and now got to be a year later, his third one gets nuked for ban evasion.
Second one I'm not super confident on because I think there's still a YouTube channel by that name that's up, but it hasn't had anything uploaded to it in over a year.
The canonical Doc Dino, which was the original.
Oh, this is a second Doc Dino channel?
Yeah. So there was the original Kent Hovind official, right? That's toast. And then the backup was Doc Dino. That one's gone. And now then there was Genesis Baptist Church, and now that one's gone.
So what is the currently existing Doc Dino channel? Is that just someone like mirroring his stuff?
I don't know what that is. It's not him though.
Well, certainly not active. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say this without saying any more details. I'm extremely confident the second channel, Doc Dino, from a year or two ago, I am extremely confident that it got nuked due to ban evasion.
All right.
I'm exceptionally confident.
Well, hey,
that is the case.
Thank you to Emma Thorne, who is not eligible for any of these awards, but maybe she gets a Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't know.
For knocking off his third channel.
Yep. If there's a Lifetime Achievement Award, that'll be something that I decide personally later. And again, if you want someone to get a Lifetime Achievement Award, I am willing to give those out for money. Like, bribe me. I don't. Sure. Lorraine for $5 says, honorable mention to David McQueen because he reminds me of a well-meaning but misguided grandpa.
I know he has been nominated for best overall in the past.
He's definitely, and I think Tubes might have gotten worst argument nomination also, because for the magical thermodynamics involved.
Yeah, if I just hold up a paper towel roll, then maybe the core, right, the tube, you will forget that heat travels from hot to cold, and that's basically what hot and cold are defined by, right, is which way heat travels.
I mean, that's part of it, sure. You can make it go. You can make heat go from cold to hot if you do work, but it requires that work, though, right?
Do you actually do that? Because in order to do that, all the heat pumps that I've seen actually end up making something that was hot cold through some process, like the expansion of gas, and then the actual heat transfer comes from transferring from hot to cold, and then expelling that excess heat to the environment.
I am stuck in a room. Send help. I'm stuck in a room with 2 engineers. Send help.
I'm not an engineer either. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a linguist. I'm not a paleontologist.
Whatever you did.
It depends on how zoomed in to the process you want to be. If you're thinking there's thermal energy coming from this area and it ends up over here through some intermediate steps,
Yeah.
If that's the level of abstraction, yes. But it requires a complicated machine with work.
Yeah. That also, I want to point out, still has heat going from hot to cold inside the machine.
A heat
And
pump,
it increases
is just a
entropy.
reverse air conditioner. It still does all the same things.
And it increases entropy, so that heat's got to like there's still waste, and
Yeah.
you can't have a working heat pump in the core of the what
No.
is happening?
It would still
the
create
Earth
more
is
heat.
The mantle, there's a heat pump and it into space, but it bypasses the crust. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Wormholes or something. I don't know. Tubes. There's a tube. There's a tube with 100% perfect insulation that goes from the mantle to space. And that's where all the heat goes.
Roshina, Japonic means Germanic color, says Kent has at Evolutionist's Worst Nightmare, at Doc Dino, and at Kent Hovind Official 1. All right, well, you know what
We'll
I
see
might
which one
end up
takes off,
doing?
and we'll nuke that one for ban evasion too.
Well, here's something that I might try doing, because look, I've interacted with Emma Thorne before. I streamed with her on her Twitch channel. So like, I'm not a stranger to her. It might be worth me gathering all the information I can from anyone who has it on which channels Kent Hovind has, and then getting that to her and saying, "Hey, can we coordinate a brigade to get him for ban evasion?" Because I mean, I'm not going to want to brigade him for anything that isn't against terms and services, but this is
right. But this is clearly right. He's gotten, and it's not like he did one thing and got banned and then made a new. It was like there were multiple. It was a slap on the wrist. It was down for a week. It was back. It was demonet. Like there's a whole thing here. He is well over the line. We're done. So just do it.
Also, I have to double check who said it, but someone in the chat said Peltier device, and you know what? Okay, that was Jason Hyatt. You know what? You got me on that one. I don't know of any place where that would actually be heat going from cold to hot on the Peltier device, and I do own several Peltier devices in various places. So, like, all right, you win this round, physics. And then there's Dan, who's like, I don't know what a Peltier device is, but hey, sounds cool.
Tell me about it, man. I have no idea. I'm literally gonna Google. I literally just wrote a note to Google it, and I probably spelled it wrong.
It's French, so it's Peltier.
You don't. It's fine. I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right. So our nominees for worst behaved. We're gonna start with Jordan. Jordan, who is your nominee for worst behaved, and why is it Mike Johnson?
Well, yeah, spoiler, it is in fact Speaker of the House Mike Johnson for his tireless efforts to actively install a convicted felon, rapist, fascist Donald J. Trump in the office of the president, who under any reasonable world would not be eligible to run because he engaged in
under the
Constitution. Under any reasonable world, he would not be eligible for parole. Okay,
right.
Like let's just.
As someone who engaged in insurrection against the United States of America and attempted the violent overthrow of the government, he would be disqualified. He should be. But anyway, I don't know.
He is disqualified.
He is disqualified. That fact was overlooked by our dysfunctional system.
My contention is that currently the United States Constitution is not in operation, and all offices under it are currently vacant.
Correct. I'd agree with that. But anyway, so I could not think of another creationist who has done more harm in 2024 than Mike Johnson.
In fact, I do want to point out that that is not something I reserve for Trump. When counting current kings of this country, of which there have been two, Biden is the first one, because while he opted not to act like a king, he was still given the powers of a king unconstitutionally during his term, making him the last president so far of the United States and the first king of what I am calling the Kingdom of Central North America, because I don't have a better name. So
the Kingdom of Southern Canada.
Well,
the Kingdom of Southern
I was
Canada.
thinking about incorporating the word Trump into it, but I don't think he deserves to be part of the name of a country.
No, we're going one further, Jordan. The Kingdom of Northern Mexico.
See, that was suggested to me. But the thing is, to me, that only works for like the Southwest. Like, sure, that works for like Arizona and New Mexico and like Nevada and California and whatnot. But like
all the way up to like Washington, though, right?
No, I don't think it went that far.
Did it go that far north?
No, that was British controlled.
Oh, that was British. You're right. That was Washington was British. Yeah. All right. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I thought about that, but then I thought that didn't super work either. Look, I'm still workshopping it.
Central.
I want the name to both be accurate, as well as giving you a good sense as to what the difference is between what country this is now versus what country it was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. 2 years ago, because wasn't it last summer?
I'm playing it safe
the
with the
immunity
numbers.
decision?
I'm playing it safe with the numbers, so I don't have to look them up.
Yeah, no, it was the immunity decision was in 2024. So I mean,
sounds right.
You go back 18 months, it's a different ballgame.
But that's still the case 3 years ago, so I'm still right.
True.
That's true.
As long as I don't give a number that's too small and it's not so big that it's not beyond the founding of the United States, I get to be correct. So like I have like a 200 something year window. I just want to be in that window. Anyway. Dan. Who's your choice?
I mean, this is going to sound so petty and stupid after that. Like, I can't beat that. Just give that one to.
No,
Mike
I want to
Johnson.
hear your choice. I want to hear your choice.
No, my nominee for this one is it's a specific person at AIG, but they embody the whole anti-intellectualist, don't send your kids to college, they're going to corrupt the youth vibe that AIG does, which is like, I want to emphasize, is their whole strategy, right? They have to take the families that are already in and make sure the kids don't leave. Because Ken Ham's approach is not to attract new people like, oh, come on. That's not what they do, because they're too hardcore, and they count a bunch of actual professing Christians as not real Christians because they're not hardcore enough, right? So what AIG relies on is their people having huge families and then keeping the kids in the fold.
Yeah.
Right? That's their whole business strategy. And it is very much a business strategy. So my nominee for this category is Patricia Engler, and all of the people who do her thing, but she's like the poster child for this shtick. She wrote this book called How to Thrive. I have it on my shelf right back here. I think it's
How to Survive College or university.
It's basically, it's about how to be an AIG approved trademark Christian and go to secular college and not, get corrupted by the demonic.
In other words, how to just not learn while you're at college is basically what it comes
how to
down
make sure you get basically how to do a Jensen, right? How to go through 4 years of college and not learn a freaking thing, right? That's what this book is about. And if you watch their weekly show, and they do a podcast and everything, the No Compromise, I think is the new one they've been doing. And so much of it is all about how like college is trying to corrupt you, and they're all about and they're gonna tell you that Jesus was fake, and like,
which by the way, they almost certainly will not do, because there are very few historians in any college who are mythicists.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd say the argument that number is, I believe it's 0. It may not be 0.
It's 0. Yeah,
it's probably 0.
It's probably 0. Well, it's certainly single digits.
Well, it's definitely 0 in the life sciences that are going to teach you in a college class that Jesus did not exist. Right? Okay. That number is 0.
I'm not going to even come on
in that. Right? Like that is not happening. Like, I have reviewed episodes of this podcast that Jensen appeared on, Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, Harvard PhD, dude who admitted he just got the degree so that he could lie with letters after his name, right? And like, he has been on there, and this is a guy who went through undergrad and grad school in the life sciences, knows exactly how it works. And I've watched him get up on the show and just lie about like what it's like in an undergraduate biology class. And that is the whole vibe of Patricia Engler and her crew, but she's like the person who's taken the lead on this. And I'm nominating this for worst behaved specifically because it is ground zero at the anti-intellectualism, right? The just anti-fact. And it's the exact same attitude. That's the reason why a bunch of prominent professional creationists, at least one of them at Answers in Genesis, died of COVID after the vaccine was available, because that attitude doesn't stop at the conventional age of the earth or universal common ancestry, right? It goes into everything, including things like vaccines and conventional medicine. And there are real world consequences for spreading that nonsense around, many of which have been experienced by, again, AIG and other professional creationist organizations in the form of their staff dying of COVID because they refuse to get vaccinated or get any other treatment that's out there. So
David Menton is a key example of this that I can think of.
Sorry, who was it?
David Menton.
David Menton is the name that I had in mind, but it's not just him. It's also Bob Enyart and Kevin Anderson and several others.
I will say, though, Bob Enyart croaking as a result of being an idiot who didn't want to get a vaccine did give us the final experiment. So, I mean, silver linings, I guess?
Also,
I don't know.
That's the dude that played, because he used to be a right-wing Christian talk show host, and he would play back in the 90s. Every time someone famous died of AIDS, he would play Another One Bites the Dust on his radio show.
How do you not get sued for that?
I don't know, but so when that guy died of COVID because he was an anti-vax loon, I'm just gonna say I was not sad.
No, like, but seriously though, like, whoever is currently holding the rights for the Queen songs cannot be someone who's a big fan of using Queen of all bands to celebrate your homophobia.
I'm sure that's partially why he did it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So going back to the book being about how not to learn.
Oh, right, that was the thing.
I don't believe that is what Jeanson or any of them did. I don't think it is possible to go through that much, like, and not have any of it absorbed. So my belief is anyone who has a PhD like he does is just lying. They know the truth.
Yeah,
they are lying for Jesus, right?
I tend to agree. We got a couple things here. So first, My Unfinished Sock for $2 says, don't be a poorly behaved young earth creationist. Like and share instead. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $4.99 says, why don't they just tell the kids to go to joint a frat and get drunk the whole one-timed? I think I understand what you're going for, and it's because they don't approve of any of that stuff. If you're going to join a frat, it needs to be a good Christian frat where there's no drinking. Also, Robert Atsit says, the word is emperor, not king. I don't super want to get into it right now, but I do actually have, like, historical and socio-political reasons for preferring the term king over emperor for the current person with, you know, the supreme authority here in this country.
We don't need to do it.
Yeah,
I was gonna but we're not gonna do it.
There are reasons. Trust me, there are reasons why I think he fits better into the mold of king in terms of, like, Anglo-Saxon pentarchy kings versus emperor in terms of, like, Roman Empire. But yeah, we're not going to get super into it.
Holy Roman. I was thinking Holy Roman, but yeah, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, or Holy Roman. Actually, he would be close to the Holy Roman Emperor if any.
Yeah, that was a better way to draw. I think that's a good way to do it, but we're not going to do it.
I still have reasons, and we're not going to get it. Wayne Rossi for $5 says, young earth creationism is a vanguard of anti-intellectualism and conspiracy thinking in the United States and has done so much to mainstream this nonsense. I'm sorry. But you are absolutely correct about that. Okay, so who is the nominee for Grayson, who unfortunately isn't here with us because he got double booked? So his pick is, in fact, Raw Matt, and specifically for making a racist map depicting Jay Bundy as African and Kent Hovind as Aryan in his dispersion from Babel.
What? Do we have a screenshot? Oh my goodness.
I do have a screenshot I can send you. I don't have one handy to show the audience, but I will send you that screenshot. Don't worry.
Oh, please do. That's amazing. What the heck?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know why he would do this. I don't know. Well, here's the other thing. I don't know why Ramat does anything that he does.
I was gonna say, why try to get into his head? It's inscrutable.
Because I still maintain that not only is Ramat a liar, because we all know he's a liar, but I honestly think that at his own hands, he has done irreparable damage to the physical structure of his brain. I am currently convinced that if you did like a CT scan of his brain, it would come back looking like Kazumarzu or something like that, right? Just completely worm-eaten and rotted and gross.
Basically, if you were to go inside, it would be like the Lego movie, where it's completely devoid of all thought. It's just so breathtaking, just so prodigiously empty.
And look, when I say this, I have reasons for this, right? Like, this is the guy who thought that pre-Yiddish was a language at all, and that it was the language that, at least in part, the Bible was written in. Right?
At some point, we need to have Dapper. Way back in the day, we did a tier list of the best and the worst.
Yeah, I
We did
remember.
2 separate shows. It would be mean, maybe, to do one for just like the most just head empty. But I mean, Raw Matt would be a contender.
Oh, yeah.
I almost feel bad about this, though, because this is a man who is a former Breatharian, and
Yeah.
there's only 2 kinds of former Breatharians, and one of them is dead because they starved to death.
Mhm.
So, and the other kind is probably brain damaged from having tried it. So, like,
Yeah. So here's the thing.
I almost feel bad making fun of how bad Raw Matt's arguments are, is what I'm saying.
Here's why I don't, right? If you went and cut off your hand and then demanded sympathy on the grounds that now you were handicapped, I don't care, because you did it to yourself.
Yeah, if he had been a child who was forced into that, then I would feel
Right.
bad.
Right, yeah.
Every single one of Matt's problems, if he wants to know who's at fault, all he has to do is look in the mirror. No one told him to become a monofruitarian. No one told him to become a breatharian. No one told him to eschew medicine in favor of grinding up plants. No one told him that pre-Yiddish was one of the languages in the Bible. No one did any of this to him except himself. No one forced him to blatantly lie in so many of his videos to only then go back and self-edit them. No one forced him to fraudulently claim to have been published in PLOS One. No one forced any of this on him.
Funniest thing ever. That was amazing.
This is all his own doing, including the quite likely brain damage. For $20, Fade to Grey, Post-Diluvian Flying Glacier says, I would like to nominate Gunter Beckley for this final act. Okay, here's the thing.
2025.
That's the... so I did say you could add him by super chatting, but what I want to know, Fade to Grey, tag me. What did he do in 2024 that you would like to nominate him for?
Well, that was Deplorable Ilk, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll just do Deplorable Ilk. That's fine, yeah.
Like, Deplorable Ilk is a legit thing you could do there, but yeah, the other thing, it was 2025.
Yeah, so the murder of an innocent 44-year-old motorist will be something that we will almost certainly nominate Gunter Beckley for.
I'm sure that will garner a nomination in 2025.
If no one else nominates Gunter Beckley for this, I plan to. Right? Because
that's fair.
He's a murderer.
Was.
Well,
true.
If it's the last thing you do as you die, I feel like I get to still use the present tense, but I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. Okay, so yeah, Gunter Beckley will be added in for Deplorable Ilk, because that did happen in 2024. Fade to Grey says, I would say his act was bad enough that it deserved it. Yes, but technically, it was done in 2025, which means we will nominate him for that in 2025. But in 2024, I will still allow him to be nominated for what he did in 2024, which was mostly just the absolute bitchy whining about me and Dave and Erica and who else? Aaron Ra.
Oh,
Aaron Ra.
Aaron Ra, yeah. I'm so jealous. How dare he leave me out? That asshole.
Dan, you've been mentioned enough on Evolution News. Don't worry about it. You've had far more mentions than I have. Although
that's fair.
It is
that
weird.
Was just this year, though. That was just this year. I pissed them off real good.
But like, it does feel weird to have been mentioned by both Creation.com and Evolution News.
That you're just getting all those feathers in your cap, isn't it nice?
I'm just some asshole with a YouTube channel. Like, I'm not writing papers.
I've got CMI. I've got Evolution News, and I've got AIG.
Yeah, you're definitely winning that compared to me.
Because Jensen, on his one and only blog post from 2022, was about me.
Nice. All right, so that means we've gotten all of the nominees, including the extra one from Fade to Grey. So I will go over and make that poll.
Glad that one.
All right, so let's see. Which creationist in Anno Domini Jesu Christi, I'm doing it this time, was the worst behaved? I forgot to put the actual 2024 after the Christi.
Man, Mike Johnson might switch. I could see Johnson getting 3 out of 4, but Jordan, I'm really looking forward to seeing how you're going to make this last one work.
All right, so I need to add those. Sorry, go ahead. Let's go.
No.
Well, all I'm doing is typing in like the things. So like,
I not to spoil it, I did not nominate Johnson for best overall.
Okay, good.
Because there is no universe where I will call that person good in any sense of the word.
There we go. Okay.
So
I don't think we're going to have a contender for the full Jensen this year then, because we haven't had any other repeats. So
I'm not putting the Dyrus over the U in Gunther because I don't care. And it's not on my keyboard.
Well, I didn't nominate Lyle, and did Lyle get nominated for all 3? I wasn't.
No.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so
nope.
the closest.
Nope, that's it. There can be nobody. Carter, Rob Carter, your title is safe.
Right, but Johnson could still pull the standard Jensen, not the full.
He could do the standard Jensen of multiple nominations, no wins. But let's be honest, that dude is going to win at least one of these categories.
He deserves it. His actions certainly deserve a win.
He deserves recognition for how.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So here we go. We're going to do Matt. Quote raw. Oh, I have to put the raw first. So okay, we're going to do quote raw.
Uncooked Matthew.
Matt Man Nylor. There we go. That can all fit. So it's raw Matt Man Nylor because he's going by all of those. Fortunately, he didn't actually get anyone to start calling him Dr. Raw Matt, which is something he tried to do a few years ago.
Was this like a Dr. Evil sort of thing where the doctorate is like not actually a doctorate?
The only person who even came close to taking it seriously, as far as I could tell, was Matt Powell. I don't even think Donnie took it seriously. We got National Socialist Mike Johnson. All right, let's see who else we have. We got Patricia Engler. I do have her picture. Let's see.
Vagrant Vagabond says if Johnson wins all 3, then that will be like pulling a Johnson. We'll be winning all the bad categories.
Wait,
okay, so being nominated for more. So just to be clear, being nominated for more than one and winning none of them is a Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Being nominated for all of them and winning none of them is a full Jensen. To date, has only been accomplished by Rob Carter. Being nominated for the bad categories and winning all of them would be a Johnson.
If he pulls it off.
If he pulls it off.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have this figured out. So, sorry. For some reason, even though I told my computer to download a picture of Patricia Engler, it seems not to have done so. Or it's possible it's just a weird format, like WebP or some whatever. Engler. And then Gunter Beckley, who I did manage to get a picture of right before. So Gunter Beckley will be there. Gunter Beckley. Gunter, if you want, your widow can request a trophy, and I will send it to her.
Vicious.
Look, I really don't have any sympathy for Gunter Beckley.
He killed a man.
He killed someone.
He killed a man. He murdered somebody.
Look,
so,
I don't know his wife at all, so
she might be a wonderful lady.
I'm willing to extend empathy to his wife, but not to
kids.
Him.
I don't know. To some extent, you have to take like responsibility for your romantic partners and who you chose, unless they're physically abusing you. If they're being an asshole who's killing other people, and you know about this, or they're spreading like fascism around the world, and you're just like, oh no, this is my beloved husband. No, fuck you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kids though.
The kids.
I don't know if he had kids.
He did have kids. He had 2 sons, I believe.
You don't get to choose your parents.
You don't. That your dad's a dickhead.
I've actually had people say, like, how dare you not be sad about this person's death? They had kids. And I'm like, yeah, it turns out assholes can manage to reproduce.
Yeah, I don't, people have kids all the time.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that information. Yeah. The first time I had that happen to me was with Beau Biden, who I said I had absolutely no sympathy for because he was an absolute monster who ruined the lives of, like, tens of thousands of innocent people on bullshit drug charges.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. When he was AG of Delaware.
Yeah, it was Delaware. Yeah. I mean, I looked up the stats. I don't have them in my head anymore, but like I looked it up and I was like, oh no, this person was a piece of shit. I'm perfectly happy with him being gone, and I don't care that he had a wife and kids and a family. Lots of horrible people have a wife and kids and family. He's one of them. So yeah, there were some people not very happy with me with that stance. Don't care.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I was like, he's like President Biden. So I'm like, well, Vice President. I'm like, that doesn't help.
Yeah. So I don't care. Like, if you're a bad person, like, good people can also have children who are bad people. That happens. Like,
yeah, it's not like I didn't feel bad for the kids. I'm just not going to be sad that he himself died. Nor do I feel bad for like, because you know what? Biden is also to blame for a whole lot of the ridiculously horrendous drug policies in this country. Back when he was Senator Biden. So he doesn't get off the hook, don't worry. Anyway, remember when this was not going to be an overly political stream?
I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I have some gin in this glass, and I'm going to blame the gin.
yeah.
All right. So, we come to our final category, which helps us leave on a more pleasant note. This is the one we can feel good about, and this is best overall creationist. Now, remember, we grade on a curve, so you might think that our picks are objectively not good people, but that doesn't mean that they're not in the running for best among creationists. But I do think you might actually find that some of the picks are, in fact, good people.
I'm going to say, I think my pick is an objectively good person.
I think Jordan might agree with you on both your pick and his pick. So who did I have go first last time? I think it was Dan, right? So this is Jordan going first?
I went first time.
Then
it was Jordan, me, and then back to Jordan?
Okay, so it's Dan this time. Dan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was me this time?
Yep.
Okay. So my pick for best overall for 2024 is Rebecca from Bread of Life, because for anybody that follows her channel, you will know that she has been all in on the argument that Christians should be LGBT plus affirming. And given the political climate right now, it would be the easiest thing in the world for somebody with a Christian, creationist, whatever YouTube channel to just like go all in on like the trans panic witch hunt stuff and just like cash in on that. And she has gone 180 degrees the other direction. And I cannot express how nice it is to see that.
Yeah.
There's somebody in the evangelical community pushing back on all that bullshit. And like the degree to which she deserves credit for standing up when the political tide in her own community is going 100% the other direction as fast as you can. We're just sprinting to bigotry. And she's standing up there going, no, we need to be accepting. That is the message conveyed by Jesus in the New Testament, that we need to be accepting of everybody, whether we agree with it or not.
Yeah.
Just, it has been just a rare point of like hope that we can turn this freaking cruise ship around at some point. And I think, I mean, we here have seen the vitriol that she's gotten from other Christians over the last year or two for her position on this,
including, by the way, Sal Cordova, who is also a nominee for a different category.
Yeah. Oh, that was oh God, that was the hardest
cringy
stream in the world to watch. Like, you don't need to have that. Anyway, yes. And she deserves all the credit in the world. And Rebecca, if you see this, I just want you to know, freaking, I appreciate what you're doing. Please keep doing it.
Yeah.
It is exactly, I mean, I'm not like any kind of biblical scholar or anything, but I feel, but like I grew up Catholic. I've read the Bible. I've read the New Testament, a couple different versions of it over the years. I feel like if there's any message at all, it's have empathy and kindness towards marginalized people. And like Rebecca is doing it. So like Rebecca is my nominee for best overall. She deserves it.
Yep. And I agree with all of those statements about Rebecca. And Rebecca, like, look, keep it up. Here's the thing. I care far more about the well-being of people than I do about whether or not they think the Earth is as old as it is. And while I would prefer that you not be wrong about that, I don't care nearly as much. Because quite frankly, if it's like, hey, here are your choices. Convince 3 people that young Earth creationism is nonsense, or hey, allow these like 3 people who are like gay or trans or something like that to just continue being alive. Yeah, I'm going to choose option B every single time.
Like, just
Especially in a climate where the people with the guns currently want you to not be alive. So
yeah, it's really bad right now, folks.
Yeah.
It's really bad. If you know any LGBT people, especially trans people right now, like, reach out to them and,
get a bug out bag.
yeah, that too.
Yeah. Get a bag, like a duffel bag, put some canned food in it, put some bottled water in it, put a few changes of clothes in it, maybe some batteries, maybe a phone charger.
Yeah, a little external charger and a couple of cables.
Yep. Just in case. Hopefully you'll never have to use it.
Good to have.
But yeah, look, it's not just for natural disasters. It's also for human-caused disasters. And those are already ongoing. So find some people who are less likely to be targeted than you, who you might be able to run to if you have to.
Good on you, Rebecca. Keep it up.
Yeah. All right. So, Jordan, who is your very different nominee for Best Overall Creationist?
So my nominee, hold on. Someone mentioned that bow ties aren't allowed on the Enterprise Bridge. Good thing this is the Lexington Bridge.
Oh wait, there's actually a couple of super chats that I want to get to before we get that. Yeah, that's a good point though. This is the Lexington Bridge.
Get it right, folks.
And who's the captain of the USS Lexington? I don't remember.
He is Captain Hawk, who looks remarkably like this.
All right. So Roshina Japonic means Germanic Keller for 199 says Will Duffy for TFE. I'm sorry. He was not nominated. It's an interesting choice, right? Because I do really appreciate the final experiment, but no one selected him, so he's not going to be in there. Dr. Tapioca Weasel, who's been a member for 35 months at the diapsid level, says, question for the panel: when considering the mitochondrion, what exact types of powerhouse, nuclear, coal, geothermal is it the most similar to? Hashtag magnets revel. Hashtag pelagic revel.
I'd say coal because
I'd say I'm going to ban you from my channel.
I mean, nuclear. It's not converting mass to energy, right?
No, it's just burning organic matter. It's all it is.
Coal,
it's just
right.
it's combustion of organic matter, just really slow. Yeah.
So coal if we had to choose.
It's literally just you take organic stuff, you separate it out, you release CO2 and water as a byproduct. It's combustion.
All right.
Also, I'm going to ban you from my channel. Stop it right now.
So Jordan, why did you choose Rebecca?
So I agree with everything Dr. Dan said. The reason specifically I gave for choosing Rebecca, to stay on the theme, even though I'm not going to nominate National Socialist Mike Johnson for Best of Anything, I nominated Rebecca, aka Bread of Life, for not voting for the fascists. Now, granted, she said she did not vote against the fascists either, which would be way better, but we are grading on a curve.
We're grading on a curve.
So not voting for the fascist, hey, that gets you points, especially in that society. Rebecca is a lovely person who has been very brave in her. It's easy to stand up against people who you don't know, or it's easier. It's very difficult to put yourself out there when you know that you are going to ostracize yourself from everyone in your community. Yeah. That's a very difficult thing to do.
I did miss. Sorry.
So I respect Rebecca tremendously for doing that, and therefore I think she's the best.
All right. Mark Right-Handed Sith Smith for $2 says, is pre-Yiddish related to Reformed Egyptian? And you know what? That is a great question. I'm going to go ahead and say probably not, but I actually don't really know because, they're both just made up, so why not? It's kind of like asking if Dothraki is related to Klingon, except at least those are languages that you could hypothetically learn, whereas pre-Yiddish and Reformed Egyptian are absolutely not languages you could even learn. So, yeah. Shout out to David Peterson for making Dothraki, as well as almost every other conlang in Hollywood. And also for getting kind of annoyed at me for once not charging enough for conlanging services. Like, that was the thing that happened with him and me specifically. It was like, it was a weird interaction. Did he
contract you for something?
No, someone else contacted me. And they're like, hey, could you make a naming language for, like, this book I'm writing? And I'm like, okay, yeah, what do you want? And I like, it was negotiated in the open on, like, Facebook or something. And he was like, you're not charging enough. I'm like, okay,
running me out of business.
I'm sorry, you don't have a union or something. Like, I don't know what that means. I'm charging what I think is an appropriate amount of money for like a few hours of work. feel free to keep charging Hollywood prices. I'm going to charge this non-Hollywood person who's self-publishing a fantasy novel non-Hollywood prices. I don't think he remembers that we had that interaction, and I didn't have it under the name Dapper Dinosaur, so if you ask him about it, he probably won't know. But yeah, it was just a weird thing that happened, and I don't have any weird ill will against him, but it was just a weird thing that actually did happen to me. Is me and the Hollywood Conlang guy had a weird, interaction about me not charging enough. Which... Roshan Japonic means Germanic Keller for $4.99 says, I won't nominate Will Duffy because he's going on SFT with Donnie and Sam at the end of February, and I expect it to be a shit show.
I'm sure it will be.
I mean, if it's on Donnie's channel, if it's on Donnie's channel, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be a shit show.
Always is.
I honestly don't even know what the appeal is to creationists of Donnie's channel.
I have no idea.
I just don't get it. I mean, maybe they just really like.
No, I think he fills a niche in between like AIG and CMI, who are very like buttoned up, and then like randos with 9 subscribers, right? There's in between those two things, there's basically just SFT.
Okay.
And
yeah, maybe that's it. All right, so I have thrown my hat in the ring for a nomination. This is the only time I'm nominating because Grayson just, as far as I can tell, didn't nominate anyone for best overall. And I am going with what I think will probably be an obscure name, but it's for everyone here, but it's Peter Markley. Now, I have a video coming out in which I have a discussion with Peter Markley in the next, I don't know, few months or something.
Hey, Dapper, before you keep going, let's just be clear. This is not Paleologos Peter. This is a different Peter.
This is a different Peter. Paleologos Peter is not eligible this year because I believe he won last year.
So, I say that because people here are probably familiar with Paleologos Peter.
Right. This is a different Peter. So the reason I'm nominating Peter for is basically twofold. One, he has been increasingly prominent amongst those who are arguing against flat Earth nonsense, and he does a pretty good job of it. I don't think he's the best at it, but I do think he does a pretty good job at it. And he has partnered and held his own with some people who have some pretty significant academic credentials in terms of science and degrees and whatnot on the side of the globe. Of course, there's no one with any degrees at all on the side of flat Earth, and if they do have degrees, it's in massage therapy, which there's nothing wrong with. It just doesn't equip you for this discussion. So, and also, we're coming on to, of all channels, FTFE as the science denier to have a talk with me, who I can be nice and polite, but if I need to, I can also be savage if I want to. Mm-hmm. And I thought and he also managed to have a nice, cordial discussion. He managed to stay on, he admitted when he didn't know things. He admitted when he thought he sounded like a flat earther trying to argue for young Earth creationism. And so I appreciate I appreciate this.
Self-awareness?
Self-awareness level, 9,000.
Right,
yeah, right?
Any creationist with even a crumb of self-awareness is a pretty significant thing.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I am nominating Peter Markley. Now, I understand if you might think that Rebecca standing up for LGBTQ plus people is more important than that. I get it. But this is just what I personally encountered in terms of great young Earth creationism personally in my 2020. Peter Markley was a standout. So I want to say, hey, thank you, Peter Markley. And if you win and you do want a best overall creationist Peter Markley 2024 trophy sent to you, do let me know, and I won't spread around your shipping address. In fact, I will almost certainly lose it and immediately forget it after I send it in the mail. So, but if you do want that, contact me. It won't be very big because the print volume of my 3D printer is not infinite. So I'm going to print it as a single piece because I can't be bothered to try to assemble it. Let's see. Morgan says, so right off the bat, he's better at debating than Kent because he can actually defend the globe Earth. Yeah, Kent actually can't defend the globe Earth other than by insulting flat earthers, which, one, he's right to insult flat earthers, right? That is an appropriate thing because flat earthers are dumb in incredible ways, and also are almost universally just the absolute shittiest people you will ever meet. On a personal level, how there's a lot of young Earth creationists who I think are morally reprehensible, but probably are nice and kind to the people they hang out with and have good relationships with their family. That's not flat earthers.
Some of them.
Most of them, I would say.
Mm,
You know what? We don't have to agree completely
some
on
of them.
this.
We don't have to go there.
Flat earthers almost never have any contact with any of their friends or family that they had before they became flat earthers because they become assholes.
Because it's a cult, and
Yeah.
that's what they do.
Yep.
That's what cults do.
All right, so I'm going to start working on the poll for best overall. If you have any nominees, pay the requisite nominee tax, and I will add them as long as you can tell me why they're nominated and that it was in
Is it too
2024.
late? Hey, Dapper, is it too late to add Sam to the nominee list for worst overall? Because,
Yeah,
man, that guy.
it is.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. The thing with Sam is, like, I spend most of my existence not ever even having his existence impinge upon my consciousness, and I prefer to keep it that way.
What bliss that must be.
Yeah, you know what the key is? I don't watch Donnie's channel because nothing worthwhile goes on there.
Hey.
Nope,
Hey.
I'm sticking with it.
Bergman to do the phylogeny thing. You'll see.
Okay, maybe.
It was good.
On the occasional off chance that something that's kind of worth my time comes up, people send it to me, and I watch just that part.
You watch my rebroadcast.
Roshna Japonic means Germanic Keller for $4.99 says there's no most ignorant young Earth creationist. The problem then is it requires me to try to figure out whether people are lying or being ignorant. And while in some cases I feel that I can do that, I don't want to have to do that overall for just like a whole swath of young Earth creationists. So no, because like anyone who I would say is the most ignorant might also just be the most dishonest.
That's also just the Raw Matthew former Breatharian award.
I mean, yeah, there is
that's all that is. That's just the Raw Mat award, and then everyone else is fighting for second place.
Yeah, there's that too, because I can't think of any young Earth creationist who is dumber than Raw Mat. Matt Powell is a contender, maybe.
Matt, yeah, space oxygen, the chicken arm thing.
Okay, but
I don't know though.
Calling
like,
yourself
Raw
unordained or a scene and thinking that pre-Yiddish is a thing, it's a pretty big deal to me.
Raw Mat said that every single element comes from the decay of uranium, while having a decay chain of uranium on the screen that did not do that,
and also the heavy uranium.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's hard to beat, folks. He just run away every year with that one.
It's
really hard to.
It is quite the thing. All right, so
I'm sorry.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for 199 says, which Matt would that be? That would be Matt Nyler, the former MMA fighter, former breatharian, alleged ordained Essene, which is crazy because the Essenes didn't ordain people. Licensed in all versions of herbalism worldwide, which is weird because most of those don't have licenses that you can get. Let's see. The man who wrote a book about how to stop aging and live forever. No, I'm not kidding. Who I want to point out has continued to age and currently looks like he has untreated cancer.
If Skeletor,
right?
Like, if Skeletor got pneumonia,
yeah, that guy. And I want to point out the other people have produced books that they say will stop you from aging, like Deepak Chopra. One of the things you might notice about people like Deepak Chopra and Matt Nyler, who tell you they can stop you from aging, is that they don't fucking stop aging.
Well, they're a river to their people. They don't want to use.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Of course. How could I have forgotten? All right, so I am going to be setting up the image poll. Here we go. Who was the best overall? Oh, I don't need to capitalize creationist. What am I talking about? Creationist in Anno Domini 2024. Roshina Japonic means Germanic Keller for $4.99 says the Raw Mat would win most ignorant Yek. Is why I asked about it. Oh, because you want him to always have an award. Okay.
I mean, who would even compete for that? So there's one of the best news sites on the internet is Talking Points Memo, and they do an award every year in like basically political scandals and corrupt. It's basically the politics version of the Cambrian bunnies. It's awards for corruption and craziness in politics, and it's called the Golden Dukies after this guy Duke Cunningham. I think it was Duke Cunningham, was a former fighter pilot, and then became a congressman and was just tremendously corrupt. And there are like, so when I think I don't think he's alive anymore, but like he could not win, right? He was not allowed to win.
Right.
And there were way back in the science blog days, there was a similar thing for, you know, various flavors of crazy. And there were several awards that were named, you know, the Michelle Bachmann blah 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 award. And Michelle Bachmann, former Congressman Michelle Bachmann, was not allowed to win that award, right? And that would be the case for Raw Matt. Like, he would just be like, congratulations, lifetime achievement. You don't get to win again because you'll just win every year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I will send out the link for this, and then I will read this 100 Argentinian peso super chat. Give me a second here. Here is the link for the fourth and final poll. And then, if you think you saw a giraffe, no, you didn't, for 100 Argentinian pesos, says, unrelated, but no one else would get it. It's not the Nazi salute. He's autistic, and you got Aryans and Aryans, one with a Y and one with an I, mixed up. He thought it was a Christian thing. Yeah. I gotta say,
someone who is autistic, that is offensive as hell.
Yeah.
Like, I did not become a bigot because I was autistic.
Mhm.
Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, causes for doing Nazi shit nowhere
just
includes
being
autism.
A Nazi apologist. It's all those people are doing, and they're making, like, folks, we need to be clear about this. When people make arguments like that to excuse the Nazi shit that's going on, they're not making an argument because they think it's a good argument. They're making an argument to throw up smoke and make it look like there's disagreement where there isn't actually disagreement. Right. Everybody saw that with their own two eyes. There's no debate about, it's like when someone says there was no violence on January 6th. MFR, I watched that on TV.
Yeah, right. It was live. I saw it.
Like,
so don't, if anyone says these things, don't engage in the delusion.
I want to point out, if you think you saw a giraffe, no, you didn't, is pointing this out because of how stupid it is. Yeah. So I do want, don't attack this person.
No. They're not doing this. Absolutely.
This is an attack on the people who actually made that argument for real to see if the spaghetti would stick to the wall.
And look, there's only one response to an obviously bad faith argument that you both know is a bad faith argument, which is to call it out as such and continue on otherwise as if it had not happened.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Do not
and we're going to need to, and everyone needs to do that a lot, because the part of the fascist takeover playbook is make a bunch of obviously absurd bad faith arguments in the hope that someone will take it seriously and it becomes part of the debate.
And because
shut that down.
Is not to win the argument. The point, it's all about signaling tribal identity. That's 100% what all of these are for.
Yeah. There are no good fascist arguments because the things they want are very obviously evil and dumb, even bad for themselves. And so do not treat an argument that is that's not only not a good argument, but isn't even believed by the person making it as if it's a serious argument. Right? The reason I engage in good faith with creationist arguments is because I know some creationists actually believe them. But the reason I don't treat people like Casey Luskin or Nathaniel Jeanson as if they are actually believing these things is because I don't think they are, because they've given me no reason to think they're acting in good faith and every reason to think that they're not. So remember, when it comes to which arguments to take seriously, if you think that there's actually someone who believes the argument, then okay, engage with it in good faith. But if you think that the only people making it are just doing bad faith argumentation, which is the case here, you don't have to engage with it in good faith.
Right.
I do need to just correct myself. Duke Cunningham is still alive. Sorry. I just need to issue a correction there.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me for Cambrian Bunny nominations. I had fun. I hope you all had fun. This is something I look forward to each year. And the plan is to leave these polls up for about a month and then have a follow-up stream where we hand out the awards in about a month. Dr. Tapioca Weasel just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership, which went to Triceratops. Thank you very much. Triceratops has had one of my favorite names for a while here because it's Tri, then like Sarah the name, and then Tops, which I appreciate. That's right up there with, I have another viewer, Lesbiandria, which is, in case you can't tell, I like portmanteaus. So, I don't know, pro tip, if you want me to say
something
I like
a linguist would appreciate.
Yeah. Dr. Raphael Quizzle has just gifted another Dapper Diamonds for membership, and it went to Glenn Collins. So thank you very much. All right, guys. So, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go take a whole bunch of time off because I don't know if you guys know this, but this is my third stream today.
That's too many streams.
Right.
That's definitely too many.
All right. So before we get out of here, though, we're going to give everyone a chance to like promote what they have coming up, like on their own YouTube channels, or if they have appearances on other YouTube channels, or even real life stuff. Because okay, I want to rephrase that. Even offline stuff, because one of the things I don't want to promote is the idea that what happens online isn't real and it doesn't matter. This is real life. It matters. There are real people on the other end of these screen names and these cameras, and they matter too. The people in this audience, you're real people, unless you're a bot, in which case, get out of here. You matter too. And unless you're a bot.
I was going to say a different word, but yes.
Or a fascist.
Then you don't matter.
Yeah, then you don't matter.
Then get out of here.
Yeah. And by here, I mean Earth.
I didn't say that.
Look, you know what? There's a whole movie about a Nazi colony on the moon, and if that's where they all went to live, I'm fine with that.
That'd be fine. They can go to the moon. Be my guest.
You want to have an Aryan superstate on the moon? Enjoy.
Knock yourselves out.
Yeah, you might need to drink a lot of milk because you're going to have some pretty serious calcium deficiencies up there.
For what it's worth, though, Nazis historically have been good at building rockets. So you know what?
That's true. That's actually that's the only argument I've heard. The only argument I've heard as to why Elon Musk might not be a Nazi is he sucks too much at rocketry to be a Nazi.
His rockets keep exploding.
Yeah.
He's clearly not a Nazi.
If you were a real Nazi, Elon, you would have better rockets. Come on, man.
He'd be on the moon by now.
Right? All right, so Jordan, what do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
I actually have a lot of stuff coming up. So on my channel, which is Reason to Doubt, a channel on skepticism, I will be talking to Dr. Dan at some point next month. We haven't scheduled it, but it'll be next month.
At some point soon.
We'll be talking about trans stuff and why arguments against trans people are stupid and wrong and not biologically correct. I'll also be talking...
cis white dudes just...
Yep. I mean, if anybody is qualified to talk about it. Well, so my stance is like, that is something we've actually wrestled with. And it's like, and the way I look at it is, look, one, someone who's trans shouldn't be forced to carry all of the water. Like we can help too.
And just defend your existence. You shouldn't have to do that.
Right. You shouldn't have to
defend
do
your
that.
own existence.
And also, I have been given a position of privilege in the society, and so I should use that privilege. And maybe for some people, having two cisgendered white guys is the key they need. I don't know. There's no reason why it should be like that.
Structure,
also, I'm going to point out that while you yourself aren't trans, it's not like you don't have any like very close involvement with members of the like trans or non-gender conforming community.
Yeah, that is correct. I'm not going to call any of them out, but yes, I do have trans friends. I count. Anyways, yes, so I've got that coming up. I've also got, I'm talking to Charlie Dave about what evidence is. I am going to, as a treat, to respond to the Joe Rogan Shroud of Turin thing. As a treat, I've been doing good. I mean, a whole month,
Shroud thing.
Yeah.
Shroud. Give the people what they want, Jordan. Give the people what they want.
So when are you going to have Otangelo on to argue with you about the Shroud?
Look, there are limits to what I'm willing to do, and that is beyond it. Yes, that's what I got going on.
All right. Dan, what do you have going on? Although, actually, before you do that, real quick, Dr. Tapioca Weasel sent in a super chat. So I would like to promote the, quote, powerhouse cult that Dr. Dan is starting. Its tenets are worship of mitochondria.
So the first thing I'm going to do is ban him from my channel and yours, because there's a little known item in my syllabus for all my courses, and the item is that if you utter the phrase "the powerhouse of the cell" in my classroom, that's an automatic F. It's just it's in there. Most students don't read the syllabus, so they don't notice that, but it's there. Damn it, Dr. Tapioca. But in seriousness, I do have a bunch of fun things coming up. So obviously I'll be talking to Jordan at some point soon. I'm also going to be chatting with our absent friend Grayson. We're going to be reviewing, God help me, we're going to be reviewing an SFT video where, as I understand it, he tries to make several genetics arguments. And if I get through it without dying of alcohol poisoning, it will be a freaking miracle. So that'll be actually on the 31st. That is next week. And then on my own channel, I've got some really fun stuff coming up. I have last month I had a really fun conversation with Dr. Chris Thompson ahead of his debate with Kent Hovind. And then, so we're going to have kind of a debrief on my channel. So I'm going to air my conversation on his channel, re-air that, and then have that conversation. I'm going to re-air my recent debate with Dr. Jerry Bergman. And then I've got some fun stuff coming up because my friend Discovery Institute is talking about junk DNA again, which is just bait that I can't resist that siren song. So
how
I
many
gotta
times
cover
you need to teach this lesson, old man?
no, it was another long story short video, and like honestly, you could take the one from last year that started the kerfuffle and this one, and you could put them in either order, and it would work because there's nothing new. But this new one that came out like I don't know last week or the week before was accompanied by not one but two articles on Evolution News. One by Luskin and one by Klinghoffer. So I got something coming for that. I've got a few of my standard creation myth videos coming up. The one that I think will be first is on post-flood speciation rates and how that's definitely not possible.
No, not even close.
Yeah, so we'll preview on that one is that for some groups of organisms, the rate of speciation would have to be like the creationist straw man of like species A gives birth to species B, which gives birth to species C. Like it has to be that fast.
Actually, with proboscideans, it's worse. Each cow needs to reproduce multiple species in each next generation.
Within a single litter, yeah, it's bad.
Well, it has to be subsequent pregnancies because proboscideans generally only have one birth for like 2-ish years.
It's like ancestral proboscidean, and then it's like woolly mammoth, and then the next kid they have is mastodon, and the next kid they have, it's really bad.
It's
so
not viable.
I'm gonna have fun with that one. And I have I've got a bunch of other stuff scheduled. I've got a few things that are up for members, and I will have more shortly, which is to say within the next few weeks. I've got stuff cooking. It's fun.
Fair.
And I'm excited for the Thompson conversation, especially because he did a really interesting thing in that Kent debate. And Dapper, it was actually similar to what you did because the topic was very narrow.
I love that.
So it was just about common ancestry of carnivores. That was it. That was the topic.
Let me guess, he had nothing to say about that because he doesn't even know what it means.
So similar to your birds or dinosaurs thing, right? It was very specific, which forced Kent, like, you could do your script, but that's not relevant. Come back to what we're talking about, please. Right. And it was, I think, very effectively done. So
as far as I'm concerned, that is the only way to have a debate type interaction with Kent Hovind, because if you allow him to be on script, he's just going to ramble on script and never go away from it. But once you can pull him off of that script, it exposes just how little he can even think. Not just how little he knows, but the degree to which he can't take in information, process it, and give an even close to relevant response. He doesn't have that ability.
To be fair, as I saw just this past week, that is true for most creationists, because with this debate with Bergman, most people heard words just coming out of my mouth and just immediately went to the playbook without actually listening to the argument I made. And it was hilarious how many of them just did the script that they've learned from the Yex instead of like hearing what I said and thinking about it on its own terms. It was enlightening in that regard. Yeah.
All right. So before I announce what's coming up, I want to point out that we already are getting some good vote numbers in, which means that we're getting much more engagement than we usually have in the past when I had secret videos that you had to go to. I'm not going to say who's winning what, but we are currently at 93 votes for worst argument. Nice. We are at 78 votes for worst use of the English language. We're at 63 for worst behaved, and we are at 34 for best overall. So please do get in your votes. Vote as many times as you want to. Vote early. Vote often. And again,
the New Jersey way.
If you want to, you can pay me to declare a winner. I don't care.
You can send it to Sandra's PayPal.
So here's the thing. None of this matters. This is just an excuse to come have fun a couple times early in the year and reminisce about the previous year's nonsense. So, like, I don't care. I care even less than the Academy about any appearance of, like, impartiality. I am not impartial, and I don't plan to be. So, yes. This is all just in good fun. And, yeah, if your candidate doesn't win, don't be upset, because it doesn't matter. And heck, if you want to, you can send them your own Cambrian Bunny trophy. I'll send you the .blend file. You can turn it into an STL. You can 3D print
Go
it.
for it.
I don't care. So what is coming up here on this channel and on Top Hats Off? Let's see. So on Tuesday, Jackson with Jackson is going to be back. We're going to be taking a look at more of the nonsense of Dr. Charles Jackson. And actually, the video we're looking at today is like from back in the 90s or something. So it's like baby Charles Jackson, who still has like dark hair and who's
That's
dressing
like when
in.
I talked to him in college.
Yeah. So, and also, once again, he's in low res because the man has never been in front of a high definition camera in his entire life. You don't know how it works. He's like Bigfoot, except instead of blurry, he's low res.
He actually is in a high def camera. He himself is just low res.
Mm-hmm. He's just a pixelated dude. I don't know what it is. So that's Tuesday. That will be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern here on this channel. Then on Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, so right around lunchtime, we got Timothy Clary as a bird brain, in which Timothy Clary is going to take a look at dinosaur endocranial casts, so basically just casts of the brain case of dinosaurs, and try to then pretend that the fact that they are almost identical to bird brains is not true, and that in fact birds have radically different neural structures and whatnot, and it's going to be extremely dumb. So yeah, look forward to that. Then on Friday at 6 p.m. my time, which I guess is 5 p.m. East or Pacific, sorry, 9 p.m. Eastern. Jordan, what's the plan?
Say again?
Friday at...
we are going to be on the Star Trek Lexington Bridge. I don't remember what the episode is about because I recorded the captain's log a while ago.
Emergency at Temujin 3.
Yes, that's right. We have an emergency at the third planet, and things are going to go great. There's going to be no complications.
Nope.
It's going to be a very simple episode.
It'll be fine.
You're going to go. You're going to arrive. There's going to be people who need to be rescued. You're going to beam them up, and then you're just going to warp away.
That's it.
No complications. Roll credits. Done.
Yep. There's not going to be.
It's just gonna fade to a scene of Hawk and Dr. Trigan. That's the whole elaborate
in the shower.
Yes,
is that okay.
in the sonic shower.
In the sonic shower, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In case you're wondering, that there is in fact an opportunity for some, slash fiction if you're up for it. We do have some characters who are canonically now romantically attached. So
make it happen, chat.
Yep.
One of them has a third arm. There's lots of things you can do with that.
And a third leg. And we don't know what else she might have 3 of. So
right.
Use your imagination. So then on Saturday, a week from today, I'm going to be continuing my series in which myself, Dr. Kip Davis, and Vishanti take a look at the absurdities that Bodhi Hodge has put in his book about the Tower of Babel. And you might think that it's just limited to a bunch of weird statements about linguistics that don't make any sense. Oh no. He has gone full Ancient Aliens multiple times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's fun.
We just today we went over his take on the so-called Yonaguni Monument, which is just a bunch of sedimentary rock that's fractured under the water near Japan, or I guess technically in the Japanese territorial water, so in Japan, I guess. And he's like, no, it was actually an ancient temple. This thing with uneven floors and quote-unquote steps that don't have a consistent rise or run, and some of which are 5 feet tall, which who the heck is using that as a step, Bodhi? No.
Giants.
The aliens.
Are we going giants
or the Nephilim?
The Mudflood guy? Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Nephilim or the Mudflood giants. Yeah, I don't know. So that gets us to a week out from here. So that is what to look forward to here in the future of this channel. So thank you very much. Stay safe out there. Remember to support those who are more likely to be targeted first before you. And get a bug out bag with an urgency that is correlated how early you're likely to be targeted. Because remember, there's a whole poem about first they came for the, and I didn't speak out. Be the guy who does the speaking out because you read the damn poem.
Yep. Yeah. We all read it.
Definitely remember that one.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 points out Antiquity of the Jews. Yes, Bodhi did cite Josephus for a book under the title Antiquity of the Jews, which, by the way, is not a book that exists. It is Antiquities of the Jews. And in fact, if you type in Antiquity of the Jews into Google, it immediately says, did you mean Antiquities of the Jews? So
honestly, that's better than what I would have expected, which I would have expected a direct link to some Henry Ford nonsense or something. So
to be fair, he has not put in any URLs that are like truncated or anything. So he's doing better than Donnie did.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah.
progress. Yeah.
All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take the next couple days off big time, other than maybe doing a thumbnail. Well, I will do a thumbnail for Jackson and Jackson. But don't contact me unless it's an emergency. Bye! Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovand, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Eleron Teller, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Sphincter of Doom, Wallace, Max Cherry, North Texas Fossils, John Ackerman, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.